Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to see another fantastic video of Benko Gambit in order to understand this one. And we have the first move d4, and with black pieces we have Garry Kasparov. And when Garry plays that system, it means that this system is very good. Knight f6, c4, c5, this is the introduction to Benko Gambit, try to sacrifice the pawn. And the most obvious move is d5, and now we have the Benko. Do you remember the move? And this is b5, try to sacrifice a pawn on the queen side in order to attack there. We have a4, this is a sub-line, and black's idea is to shut down the queen side, because if you've seen the previous video, you can understand that black has a lot of action there. So Garry played the move b4, I like it a lot, this one, b4. We have knight d2 now, the standard move g6. Try to develop this dark square bishop, and black is trying to execute a little more pressure in the queen side. And white just played this move e4 naturally. d6 is very obvious in order to stop this e5 idea. Knight g to f3, developing the piece, bishop g7, g6, g3. Try to develop the bishop and create a solid structure for the king. Alright, so we have e6, a very important move now, e6, because Garry tried to undermine white's center. White have a very strong center there and a space advantage, and for that reason he tried to do something. This is a very, very important move. Now we have bishop h3, pawn takes to d5, bishop takes on c8, queen takes c8, and pawn takes on d5. And I mentioned earlier, if you like to understand King's Indian defense or Benoni structure, you should know things about Benko. Because if you see this position right now, it's the Benoni structure. We have the Benoni structure, but already black has a lot of activity in the queen side, right? So this is a better version of Benoni. It's ideal position for black. And let's see how Garry continued the game. He castled, of course, it's very important to castle your king. And white did the same, and now we have a very active plan. Garry played the move c4. Very nice, because he creates a new outpost for the knight, try to execute more pressure against e4, things like that. Or he would like to push forward the pawn on c3. Queen to c2. He is attacking the pawn, so black has to do something, and for that reason he played c3 immediately. Pawn takes on c3, pawn takes on c3, knight to b3, and queen g4. And suddenly you see that it's tricky or very difficult to capture that pawn here, because the queen will be in the range of bishop, and a lot of discover attacks will happen there. For example, after queen takes here, then we have a lot of interesting things. One of them is knight takes c4. As you can see, the queen is under attack, the rook behind is under attack thanks to this monstrous bishop on g7, right? And the knight is also, after queen g4, Kasparov's last move, this knight is under attack, so white has to do something, and he played knight f to d4. Try to put his piece in the center of the board, and maybe a little later to capture that pawn on c3. Try to close this diagonal. This is a normal move, a nice move. And now Garry, of course, captures that pawn on e4, queen takes c3, and knight takes d5. White now sacrificed the pawn in order to escape from this bind, but already black is clearly better, because this bishop is fantastic here, executing a lot of pressure. You can see white has a lot of weaknesses in the king's side, so black is clearly better. The game continued to queen to d2, knight b6. Try to remaneuver the knight, maybe on c4, put it in a stable square. We have rook e1, queen d5, queen d1, knight 8 to d7, try to develop the knights, okay, rook a2, and now it's a diagram position. What we are going to play here with black pieces? Can you play as good as Garry? And yes, this is the move. Bishop takes d4, very nice move, and the idea behind it is white has a lot of problems how to recapture. For example, if you capture with a knight, we can capture the rook. Black is winning, clearly. Another idea is that queen can capture there, but the knight is unprotected now, and queen takes on b3. Black is a piece up, and for that reason here black played queen to d2 with idea to pin that bishop on d4 and try to capture this in the next move. And now we have a very nice move. The move is knight to e5, creating here, putting a lot of pieces in the center of the board. He cannot really escape with from this pin. We have knight takes on d4, knight c4 attacking the rook, and rook c2. And here you may think that black has a tactic, maybe. And what you're going to play actually. Garry played the same move, rook a to c8, because he calculated this move, queen takes d4. It's impressive move, very nice move, but actually it's not working, because after queen takes d4, we sacrifice the queen, but we can take it back. After this family fork, you can see the knight is attacking the king, the rook, and queen, but king can go on f1, we can capture the queen, and the problem of this variation is we are a knight up right now, but the rook can capture on c4, and the position is approximately equal now, because white's pieces are active, this pawn is weak, and white has this very nice bishop. Maybe he can create some troubles against these dark squares, right? And for that reason, here white equalized the game, and Kasparov didn't capture the knight. It looks impressive, but it's not working. But he played rook a c1, and now he is threatening to capture the knight, as you can see, because this knight on c4 is protected by the rook. And okay, he played rook to c3, obviously, in order to overprotect this f3 square. This is the idea. We have knight to b6 now, saving the knight, and create some, we would like to exchange the rooks actually, bishop to d2, and now black has a lot of good options. Maybe he can play queen a2, queen a5, rook c4 is another interesting idea, but during the game Kasparov just captured the rook on c3, it's okay, bishop takes c3, and rook c8. Now the rook is joining the attack again, threatening the bishop. And the tactics, of course, are in the air, because you can see the queen and knight are coordinated fantastically here, and this square is vital on f3. If black manages to give a check on f3, then he can win the game. We have bishop a1, the rook joins the attack. You see he's attacking the knight, knight to b5, the knight on d4, knight b5, rook takes a4, so Garry here played another trick. He captured the pawn, and okay, he just captured a pawn. Queen takes, knight takes on d5, bishop takes here, pawn takes, rook takes, and this position is better for black actually. It's clearly better, almost a winning endgame, because he has an extra pawn. The rook is attacking the knight, of course. The knight dropped back, and now rook to e7. Very nice maneuver this one, because the rook tried to be behind the pawn, and the knight can join the attack by knight d6. So Garry should be a little careful here. And he played fantastically. He played a4, knight d6, and now rook d4. You can see the knight is under attack, so the rook cannot capture here on f7. So he captured with the knight, and now we have the double attack with the king, if we can call it like that, because the rook and knight the rook actually is under attack. Try to remove this defender. Rook here to a7, and now another fantastic move, rook d7. Attacking that knight, and he offered the rook exchange. And after this exchange, we can see that black has an outside passed pawn, and this is really powerful, because it's extremely difficult for white to stop that pawn. The game continues, knight d6, king e7, knight goes there, a4, and the black king is much more active comparing to white, and this is the problem. King f1, king here, king e2, king d5, the knight is under attack, so he gave a check here on e3, king went on d4, king d2, try to stop that pawn with the king, knight to e5, activating everything, king c2, knight d3 here. Okay, the game is not very exciting right now. Black can win the game, because he is going to attack on the king side. And now we have knight e1, overprotecting that pawn. As you can see, he gave this check, the king went here, and knight f3. You can see black cannot coordinate his pieces and protect everything, because this pawn is under attack. The king has to stop this passed pawn, and black's pieces are extremely active on the queen side. So we have h4 here, knight dropped back, the king went on e3, king e4, and now he's trying to go inside with the king to capture everything. We have h5, he captures there, knight c3 check, king f3, he goes on d5, knight g4, attacking that pawn again, try to capture everything with the knight, knight on e7, knight takes, knight here to protect this pawn, and knight e4. You can see the knight is going to capture that one, and the king is very busy in the other side of the board. So we have now king takes, knight takes g3, he give a check here, and a very nice move, a classy move. King e4, try to cut off the enemy king. This is one of the ideas. King went there, knight f5, and you can see he's offering the exchange of the knights now, and actually white cannot stop this passed pawns in the other side of the board. I hope you enjoyed that video. It's very important how Garry played it. The first important moment is here when he played d6, tried to undermine the white center, and the next one is maybe here when he captured that one and create a lot of chaos in the center with his pieces, with his extremely active pieces. He managed to win a pawn, and with a great technique he managed to win. So I think Benko Gambit is for you. You can try it a lot, and of course remember that I have a complete article there. You can go and you can read a lot of interesting information. Thank you very much, and see you soon.